Mark Collett, thank you for joining me here this evening. First off, can you tell me how you became involved with the British National Party?
I got involved in the BNP about 6 years ago when I was at university, and it was over issues of freedom of speech and political correctness on campus. At the time I was a member of a group called the Free Speech Society, which was there primarily, as the name states, to campaign for the freedom of speech on campus and in Britain as a whole. There was a BNP member, an activist at the time called Chris Bev, a very good friend of mine now, who runs Excalibur merchandising for the party, and at the time the Socialist Workers' Party were trying to have him expelled from the student union for his political beliefs and membership of the BNP. We fought for Chris, fought for his case, and he was allowed to remain a member of the union. I became very good friends with Chris. He joined the Free Speech Society. I joined the BNP because I saw that was the only party that was truly represented freedom of speech for British people, and we then campaigned on campus through the Free Speech Society for freedom of speech for everyone, but especially for nationalists, because nationalists were the group on campus who were having their freedom of speech curtailed. It became evident that there was a Black Students' Association, there was a Muslim Students' Association, but there was nothing on campus that represented white students, and that was something which we tried to make amends for.
What's your involvement and role in the British National Party at the moment?
My role in the BNP is head of publicity. I design the Identity magazine, which is obviously the monthly magazine of the party. I also design local leaflets and national leaflets for the party, such as the ones which were delivered to, I think it was 250,000 homes after the July the 7th bombings. I also design logos for the groups and circles which surround the British National Party.
What are your thoughts on the press coverage of the trial, Mark?
I think the press coverage has been phenomenal. I mean, we knew this was going to be big, we knew we were going to get a lot of publicity, but I don't think anyone could have predicted quite how big it was going to be. I mean, we've been on the news, every bulletin, morning, noon and night, as well as a heavy amount in the daily tabloids. I mean, I've never seen articles in the Sun about us on that scale. I mean, that paper's read, it's the biggest daily tabloid, read by nearly 5 million copies that are sold every day, and for us to get publicity on that scale in the Sun is fantastic. Also, I think the fairness in which this has been reported has been, again, unprecedented. I think there was a headline in the Daily Star along the lines of BNP chief predicts July bombings, and for the media to finally turn around and say that Nick Griffin and the BNP are correct in what they've been saying, it is a landmark.
Can you tell me about the national and indeed international support that you've been getting?
I think that's been phenomenal. I'd like to personally thank everyone that has been behind myself and Nick. I mean, nationally, the amount of texts, the amount of emails, the amount of phone calls that have come into the party in support, it's been overwhelming. And that's also been mirrored in the amount of donations coming in. It really has helped the party. But what's really taken my breath away is the protests that have happened all around the world, especially in America, outside British embassies. I mean, I don't think any of us could have predicted that. And really, I would like to put out my heartfelt thanks to everyone who's participated in those demonstrations and sent messages of support.
Can you tell me how this trial is affecting you?
Well, it's been quite stressful. It's you can't really underestimate how tiring it is. I mean, people think you just sat there all day listening to the judge, but it is extremely stressful because you've got to be very mentally alert. I mean, I personally don't know how the barristers and the judges manage to do it, because once they're in, they don't just get to go home like I do. They have to go and read the case notes and formulate the arguments for the next day. And really, the strangest aspect of the case is you don't see daylight, really. You go in the morning and you've got to be in there for about 10 o'clock, and by the time you come out at about 4 to 5, it's getting dark again, and all you've done all day is sit under these horrible sort of fluorescent artificial lights, and it's strange, you seem to lose all sort of concept of night and day and what time it is, and it leaves you quite disorientated and extremely tired.
How is the trial affecting your family?
I think I was initially expecting it to have a huge negative impact on family, especially on my mother, but she's coping extremely well. My family are fully behind me all the way. My mother and father have been in court every day. They've followed all the legal arguments, they've taken a huge interest in it, and I'm really thankful for the support I've received off them.
Can you tell me how important this trial is for future generations of British children?
Oh, it's paramount. This case is going to establish a precedent about freedom of speech. The thing is, children being born today and young children going through the schooling system in Britain now have had no say in the bringing about of this multicultural society. They've never had a voice for or against, and if they are to voice their opinion in the future, they're going to need the right of freedom of speech. What was said in those legitimate political speeches, which myself and Nick Griffin are on trial for, was said in private invite-only meetings. If we are found guilty, if the worst comes to the worst, this case will set a precedent that what you say in private meetings, whether they be in pubs, working men's clubs, or your own living room, can come under scrutiny by both the CPS, the police, and ultimately the Labour Party. When I first got involved in the BNP, I got involved on the issue of freedom of speech, because freedom of speech is the fundamental linchpin to a democracy. Without freedom of speech, it's not a democracy, it's a dictatorship, and now we're carrying through that fight to its logical conclusion.
Mark Collett, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.